In the fucking middle last night.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Works down by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome in. Man, short weeks are always great, aren't they? Friday seems to get here a little quicker than normal. And this one's here. We'll take it. I'll always take a quick Friday. Another big show coming up. Alec Lasley is going to join us. We're going to talk Indiana basketball recruiting, which gets you caught up on that scorecard, because that's about what you need, a scorecard to keep track of that. The offers, who's offered, who's where, who's what. We'll get it lined out. Rick Bozich, Hall of Fame writer. He'll join us. We're going to talk a little bit more name, image, likeness, but not just everything. There's some schools that, like Louisville, that they got issues, man. LSU, what's going to happen there? Is Kentucky going to just be Kentucky via the transfer portal? We'll talk about all that with Rick. But also, he was around when Mike Whitson was here the first time. So we'll talk about that. Good morning, Alan. Everyone, feel free to hit us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, whether that be via YouTube TV, where we are live, or the text line, 812-269-6367. You can catch us at both places. Welcome in. Looking forward to it. This was an easy week, but of course, all short weeks are. John, the producer, I'm about to start getting you to get the Monday morning headlines. Did you see earlier in this week, Maria Taylor, a reporter from ESPN, Rachel Nichols kind of got in a little hot water, which you got to be careful. But now, after the dust up, she has reportedly been $3 million salary offer on the table to remain there. Yeah, I'll take that. So, John, the producer, can you talk badly about me? And maybe someone will offer me a salary. I don't think that there's anyone.
Talk badly about you? I don't think that's the way you want to go, Jim.
Well, so if I could get, not badly, but she ended up with a $3 million salary out of the deal. The NBA Finals continue last night. Giannis Antetokounmpo was 42 points. Not enough. Suns are up 2-0. The Bucks just don't have enough, man. He was the most dominant guy on the floor last night. But how about Devin Booker? I keep saying Devin Booker because Devin Booker was the number 13 pick in the NBA draft. NBA Pacers, or the NBA's Pacers, have the number 13 pick this year. But he's going to win him the title, man.
Another thing coming up this week, there's another Indiana prospect on the football side of things. It's supposed to be making his commitment. I think it's either today or sometime this weekend. It's offensive tackle Bray Lynch out of Austin, Texas. He's not obviously guaranteed to go to Indiana, but a lot of people are saying he's very high on the Hoosiers. And so that's another Texas product that we could see in Bloomington here soon.
Yeah. Very much so. We'll have to see how that works out. Just stay on top of it at thehoosier.com. All that information is right there.
Going into the weekend are Duke, Oklahoma State, and then, of course, Indiana. So we'll have to see how that plays out. He's closer to Oklahoma State than any of the three, but people aren't afraid to come to Hoosierville from all over the country right now with Tom Allen. So
Hoosierville. You can't call it Hoosierville.
Hoosier Land, Hoosierville.
Yeah, Hoosier Nation.
Hoosier Nation.
I think it's Hoosierville is a reference almost to Hooterville.
Is that from a movie or something? That I'm too young to know what it is.
See, when you don't know, that's the problem. Yes, Hooterville was on a TV show called Petticoat Junction, they're in another show, I think. Green Acres were all down there. You'll have to Google it, man. That's when you're too young to know the reference, yeah.
I've also been made fun of for not knowing the movie Friday.
Well, as you should be. And Friday After Next, for that fact. Because Day-Day... You don't know about Day-Day? Come on, man.
I know he passed away whenever I was producing on 790, and that's when I got made fun of for not knowing the movie Friday.
Oh, for real passed away?
Like the actor passed away, yeah. Which I don't know. I don't recall who it is or what his name is, but.
Let's see. RBO Sprint says morning from Kentucky. He's down south.
So he's in Kentucky. I wonder where he's at. Obviously, I'm in Kentucky. I'm curious where
he's at the end of Preposition Avenue.
I don't know what that means.
Tim says U of L star Purvis Ellison listed Woody as one of several coaches to reach out about a few of his players he coaches in the top 25, including Milt Wagner's grandson. But U of L's coaches have not. Milt Wagner's grandson. Are you kidding me? I remember Milt Wagner playing for Louisville. I think he was on the 1980 national championship with Darrell Griffith. That's amazing. Pete Clausen says, hey, guys, he's reaching out from Minneapolis or close by, Minnesota. I love that we have people from all over. I don't know where Forrest has been from Georgia. We got a lot of people in Florida, of course, all over the state of Indiana. Where's Merle? Where's Merle from? RBO Sprint is Somerset, close to Cumberland.
Okay. He's down
by
Kentucky.
Tennessee. Yeah. Down close to the Tennessee border. Good to know. There's Dwayne hitting us up as well. I know he's down in the Evansville area. He's a little late. It's okay. He said that. I didn't say that. But no, we're looking forward to having Rick Bozich on the program. Alec Lasley is going to get us updated on the recruiting that never seems to stop, but sometimes hopefully slows down. That has been the case here of late because when you see a lot of offers go out, you start to worry about back around the Tom Crean time. That was a different – Tom Crean was just over recruiting. He threw offers out to people he shouldn't have. And he was an enigma, though. I keep saying he had some big, big misses, but, man, he had some big, big hits. Victor Oladipo was a 3-star.
OG Anunoby was a 2-star.
OG Anunoby only got found because he went to look at Juwan Morgan. And he wasn't even on the AAU roster of players that were playing where he went and saw him. He just happened to see him, said, who's this guy? And had them go find out who he was. That's how he found him. And then Juwan Morgan as well. Neither of those guys were pros prospects.
No one else with Tom Crean came from that area of the country in Missouri, as far as I know.
Well, it's just the fact of producing talent. Tom Crean did produce some talent. You got it. I mean, Troy Williams. I mean, there was a lot. Most of the guys that are in the NBA right now are Tom Crean guys, with the exception of Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon is not. And Romeo Langford, and I call him a Rick Pitino guy.
The Tom Crean guy that everybody, I feel like, forgets about, and he's only around for 1 year, is Noah Vonleh. He's a guy that
there's
I feel
another
like
one.
he was on a
Thomas
team
Bryant.
that wasn't very good. Yeah, Thomas Bryant too. But Noah Vonleh was on a team that wasn't very good. And I feel like that if he was on a better team, he would have been a lot more remembered by Indiana, especially for the Tom Crean era. But
Well, yeah, because if he would have stuck around, he'd have been a lot remembered
Yeah.
more. When you're here
he
and
also
gone,
got underutilized, even though he was a lottery pick.
yeah, he had a lot of. It depends on what you have around him as well.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about Rick Bozich and the fact of U of L not talking to Purvis Ellison. Purvis Ellison, if you're not familiar, never nervous Purvis, leader on their 1986 national championship team. It was kind of ironic in the 80s. Louisville preceded Indiana's national championships both times in the 80s, 80, 81, and 86, 87.
And people were looking for that to happen again when they won in 20.
Real Doc Bob. Hey, goodness, I'm seeing some new faces. Glad to see you guys reach out because I haven't seen you guys before. Northfield, Michigan. Man, love to see that. Yeah, it's great to see those. But yeah, it's what was I talking about?
Shoot,
Keep me on track. Come on, man. You got to keep me on track.
We only got a couple seconds till we hit a break anyway, if you want to go ahead and do that. So,
all right. Alec Lasley is going to join us next, and we're going to talk recruiting, get caught up on that. Who's coming, who's been here, offers. It's like you need a scorecard, but luckily for you, we have that for you already at thehoosier.com, completely laid out. So back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans. What?
did you go to school with Tim Tebow? Or I don't know how you ever say his name correctly because he's talking about his Bulldogs beating your Highlanders.
I think he went to New Albany High School.
Like at the same time, though? That's
No.
kind of what I was asking. Oh, okay.
No, not to my knowledge, because that would not have been accurate. They didn't beat us.
Oh, you all had good teams.
Shit, when I was in school. Beat their ass in football. We beat their ass in basketball. We beat their ass in baseball.
Tim said he's class of 1982.
Oh, yeah. He's 1 year behind me. That he should remember that nice thumping 29-7 we put on him at his home field his senior year in high school in football. I distinctly remember it because I was looking at it from the field up.
Alex.
Oh, what up?
What's up? How's it going?
What's new?
Not a whole lot. Finally back in Indy, so that's good.
Yeah. I got the credential deal straightened out for Big Ten football. I think it was not done properly. So you in Indy for solid now? Perfect. I still got a bag of crap for you. I got a bag of crap for John.
Yeah, so I'll be out the next few weekends because there's some stuff here in Indy, Fort Wayne. I think there's some stuff in Louisville too. So I'll be out and about looking at some.
When's Louisville?
I believe it's next weekend. I have to look back at the schedule, but there's a bunch of different events going on. Because
will you just send me that? Or you know what? We need to create a calendar.
I have one. I'll make a copy of it and share it with you.
All right, we're back in 10 seconds.
Stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
TGIF, baby. Thank goodness it's fun day. It's Friday. Alec Lasley is here with us from thehoosier.com. Alec, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
I cannot complain. Nobody wants to listen to it. And it would be pointless anyway. It's a great day. It's a great day. It's the weekend is here. Recruiting's in full swing, although it's kind of slowing down finally a little bit. It seemed like, man, the offers flying out the door. I know that in talking to someone close to the program that Indiana's strategy is to go after two guys per each position. Basically, who wants this more? And then you've got the unknown with the portal next year and all that stuff. So they've got a CYA. But what's next? What's the next domino to fall offer wise? Do you expect? There's a lot of offers that have already been extended.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is now the reason for that is because coaches were finally able to get out and see some of these recruits live in person for the June evaluation period, guys that they hadn't been able to see for 16 months. So that was a big reason for a lot of these offers. Obviously, a lot of kids on campus too. Now there's a little bit of a lull in terms of visits, but you still have the July live period that just started yesterday. That goes for the next few weeks. So you're probably going to get a lot more offers coming out, a lot more names that are going to pop up. Obviously, visits won't be able to happen. That'll resume back in August, but you're still going to hear a lot more names that you probably either haven't heard of or haven't really been talked about too much, just because there was only so much the coaches could do in the only 2 weeks that they had for the live period in June. And a lot of that was more circulated around a lot of those key guys that they needed to see in the 2022 class. So you're probably going to hear a lot more 23 names pop up in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks.
What are some of those names to expect to hear that people may not be familiar with?
Yeah, one is London Johnson. I talked a little bit about him a few weeks ago in our Friday recruiting notebook that we put out every week on the site, but he's a guy down in Georgia. He's playing not at the Adidas event in Birmingham this week, but he's down in the Atlanta event as well. But he's kind of a 6'3"-ish combo guard, can do a lot with the ball. Really good scorer, really good athlete. He's one guy who Yuzir Rosemond has watched a few times. Kenya Hunter's also seen as well. This one sounds like it's going to be a little bit more of a Kenya Hunter recruitment. I think he's down in Atlanta right now watching him. I think he saw him yesterday for one of his games. He's down there to watch a ton of other IU prospects as well. But he's one name to keep an eye on in that 23 class as kind of a guy who can play a few different positions, good length, good athleticism, really good overall just athlete in general that IU's trying to go after in that backcourt. So he's one name that I would keep an eye on. Gabe Cups, who just received an offer from the 2023 class. He went out and had 27 points last night in front of part of the IU coaching staff as well. So the IU coaching staff is really putting a huge priority on the 2023 class moving forward. Probably, I think it's been 6 out of the last 7 offers that have been extended have been in the 23 class. And they're really trying to get ahead of the game due to the fact that they were a little bit behind joining late for a lot of these 2022 prospects. So they're sitting in a good spot with a lot of 2023 guys. And I think they're going to put a lot of focus on some of those top guys. But a guy like London Johnson is definitely someone to kind of keep an eye out for moving into later this month.
One thing that seems apparent, Mike Woodson is planning on building his program. I mean, he's not waiting. You see I see some teams, I think the Kentuckies are going to try to remain being Kentucky via the transfer portal. They're going to try to rebuild their team each year via the transfer portal, which is nice. Mike Woodson looks to be building his own program, recruiting guys. It's a lot of recruits, more so than it seems like most other schools. So I think that would be a good sign for recruits to tell you they're looking to develop talent here. So there's that. And the talent level is awesome to see what they're going after. I look at Purdue, and not that they don't have talent. They've got a roster full of Indiana kids, which is nice. And I've always said you could almost just win a national championship, or you could compete nationally each year with Indiana kids. But that's not quite true, because you don't every year have that one guy in this position and where you have to go get him someplace else, which is what Indiana is building their roster around, which in the future it will have more Indiana kids. They just got here. This staff just got here a little too late for this group. But I think in the future, you're going to see more of a mix of Indiana kids with these elite players. But a Purdue that does not have these elite players, this is where I see them just never going to be able to compete nationally at a high level. And I'm not trying to pick on Purdue, but I just don't think you can have every kid from the state of Indiana, as good as it is, and think you're going to go out and beat the elites.
Yeah, I think that may be true if you try to compete at a top level every single year. But if you stretch that out,
why would you not?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think obviously teams are going to have down years. Programs are going to have down years. Obviously, we saw that with Duke, North Carolina a few years ago, and then Kentucky.
Well, I think that had something to do with Nike cutting off the gravy train.
Whichever way you look at it, there's still going to be down years in programs, no matter when they're playing and who's on their roster. That's just how college basketball works. And when you look at Purdue, I think they're going to be built for every 2-3 years if they continue to do a lot of the in-state poll, where they're going to not only compete for a Big Ten championship, but the roster that they have right now, I think is vastly underrated. And I think you look at what Jaden Ivey's doing, playing for Team USA right now in the World Championships. He is, if not the best player on that roster, he is one of the top 2 or 3. And I don't think a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, obviously you still have a lot of skill and a lot of younger guys who are going to be freshmen this year, so they haven't had a lot of time not only playing internationally but playing in the college game. He looks just entirely different with his confidence playing for Team USA, and I think that's going to be a huge boost for him going into Purdue. Zach Edey's playing terrific as well for Canada. I think you have a very, very, very good roster for Purdue to compete this year. But then, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens not only with Caleb Furst, Trey Kaufman, some of these other guys. They're already loading up for the class of 2023 as well. Some of these guys, we'll see how they develop. We'll see how they fit in, and we'll also see how long they stick there, because Purdue already has tons of guys committed for the next 2 years. And we all know now with the one-time transfer rule, you're going to see guys move in and out of programs very quickly. So it'll be interesting to see how many of these guys are really true to their in-state roots and want to stick to Purdue especially, or they want to go elsewhere. But yeah, at least for this year, Purdue's going to be absolutely loaded and going to be one of the top teams around the country.
Well, and they're going to be looked at. They're a team that's going to be looked at as a Big Ten, a team that can win the Big Ten, along with Michigan. Even though we just saw that Hunter Dickinson is coming back, but I don't know that Purdue doesn't have more talent. But Jaden Ivey, he's better than Carson Edwards. Carson Edwards just became a lethal, ice cold in his veins shooter toward the end. but Jaden Ivey has way more talent. Jaden Ivey can get to the rim. Jaden Ivey has the shot. Jaden Ivey can do more with the ball. Jaden Ivey is more valuable than Carson Edwards was, and he did take them. They had a run that year, so it's going to be interesting. The Big Ten itself is going to be interesting. Michigan is going to be strong. Illinois, what does Kofi Coburn do? Where's Kofi Coburn? Where's he going to end up? It doesn't sound like he's coming back to Illinois, but don't see him at Kentucky either, really.
Yeah, I don't see him at Kentucky either, but you look at the connection that they have with stealing two of Illinois' assistant coaches this offseason. So that's probably why the biggest pull right now is for Kentucky. But you look at their roster and you just obviously there's a fit there. You're not going to say no to a guy with that skill and with that talent and that size, but their roster just is very, very guard heavy. And again, John Calipari does this every single year. He brings in way too many guys that are not going to be able to play significant minutes. And that's why you see a lot of guys leave after 1 year, leave after 2 years, and rarely stay for that long, just because one, the minutes aren't going to be there, but also just the overall development that we've obviously talked about is not there for Kentucky either. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. But yeah, I don't foresee him coming back to the Big Ten and coming back to Illinois for next year.
What's at the Hoosier.com that people need to see?
Yeah, so one of the bigger events this weekend, this week started yesterday, is the Adidas Championship. So that's down in Birmingham. We have a live thread going up about that. It started yesterday around noon, going all the way to basically the end of Sunday. One of the bigger events, one of the better events of the entire summer outside of Beach Jam. And we'll be down there. So we have full coverage of that going on the site from start to finish in the day.
Yeah, the Hoosier.com is at that event in Birmingham. Probably the only Indiana coverage that is there. So if you want to keep up with that, go to the boards and they'll keep you covered with that. Excuse me. What's next? The Bahamas dates are only August 10th through 13th. Not that far away, man. What is today's date? The 10th, 9th? So 1 month. Indiana is 1 month from playing basketball games. Now, they're not real ones, but albeit basketball games, 1 month. That's nuts.
Yeah, significant games too, right? It's not only their first time playing this year, but their roster is entirely different system, entirely different coaching staff. I think a lot of people are itching to see and to hear about the development of a lot of these players, a guy like Rob Hennessy, a guy like Christian Lander, just to see kind of how they've improved over the summer. And these games are going to be extremely big for Indiana, not only the confidence that they can get from that going into the actual regular season, but it's going to set the groundworks for what the season is going to be. If Indiana goes out there and not only wins the two games that they're playing, but has a very, very good and overall sound performance in both of those games, I think the expectations are just going to be raised even more. I think it's not going to be very clean. It's going to be probably more of a sloppy game and more of an up and down tempo, which is going to be great. You're going to see a lot of different rotations. You're going to see a lot of different guys in positions that they probably won't play throughout the season. But it's a great way for not only the team to come together, which I think is lacked over the past few seasons, and a way for them to really kind of figure out who they are playing together instead of playing against each other, because I'm sure a lot of these guys are extremely excited to be in this new situation and just want to get out there and play together and play against some other guys instead of getting beat up by some of their teammates every day in practice.
Well, it's like anything else. Practice does not present the mental taxing. A mistake made in practice is not felt mentally like it is in a game. It doesn't affect things like it does in a game. So game-like situations are you can't fake them. So that's going to be interesting for the staff to see really what they have. They'll have a good indication, but I don't think it's an accident that it's kind of being, I don't want to say held under darker circumstances with less people. It's not going to be a lot of people there, no TV. I assume that there's radio. I saw that question posed, and I don't know. I'm going to send that question out. I guess I'll text that right now to see about that. But
I would be surprised if there was. I don't think there's going to be. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be much of anything.
So is this just? That tells me this is just a way for them to see what they have, really see what they have, and to limit. And by the prices being as high as they are, only the big time donors getting in to see this, and because they don't want this getting out a lot. Which is that fair?
Yeah, and I think Tim brought up a good point over here. It's going to be like an extra secret scrimmage. Obviously, we know the secret scrimmages have become more of a thing over the past few seasons in college basketball, but they're pretty much.
What happened to those? Are they
still
here?
They are, but they're not a secret anymore. Everyone knows. You even sometimes get box scores from the games, but it's going to be very similar to that type of environment where you're going to know kind of what happens, who plays well, who doesn't, kind of what the overall gist of the game and how that went. But you just won't be able to hear it, won't be able to see it too much. So that's kind of the gist of it. It's more for the team to kind of get out, see what they have, and just kind of get some extra practice time in that they wouldn't otherwise have. And that's one of the other key parts because they are going to be going on an international trip. They get an extra almost 2 weeks of practice time that would normally be a dead period for these teams. So that's another very, very positive for Indiana, just to get more time to get a lot more experience in this new system.
Yeah. And I've said it over and over. I'm not going to get into predictions now because you can't. I mean, no idea what they have, but knowing that the talent that they do have, what they had, who's losing, it's going to be hard to imagine this team not being in the upper quarter of this league with the staff that they have, knowing that Iowa has been decimated, Illinois is going to be decimated. Michigan and Purdue, maybe Maryland, Ohio State. Outside of those four, I don't see any. I mean, Indiana should be in great position to compete at a level they haven't in the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you look at the roster that was put together, all the buzz that's been around this offseason, and I think you're going to see just a lot of high expectations, regardless of if, Mike Woodson has coached a second of college basketball. And I think that's one of the not only the good things, though, about this team is expectations are now back in store for Indiana. Whether that's, good or bad for this year, the expectations are going to be there. So now it's just up to the players and the coaches to actually live up to those. But I think you're going to see Indiana much more back in a national conversation now than it otherwise was for the better half of this past decade.
Yeah, and I think that you can tell the recruits, for lack of a better word, now national recruits take Indiana seriously. To be quite honest with you, over the last 4 years, I don't know that a national recruit took Indiana seriously. These guys weren't coming to Indiana. They weren't even considering Indiana. Now it is past a serious consideration. It's in some of their cases, it's a likelihood. So I'm not trying to be fanish or any of that, but it's just from I don't always say what I see, and they're doing exactly what they need to do. They're going to bring in the players. You can tell the players they're not going to get every one of these players, but they're going to get the ones, enough of the ones they need, and the coaching, there's no way it's not going to be there. So, it's hard for me to tell Hoosier fans to not have great reason to be optimistic, because you should. And I'm not saying this year you're looking for a Big Ten title or something like that, but I'm going to be shocked if within 3 years they are not on that level easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they're not, then something went wrong. Just the trajectory that everything is going on right now, I think that would be a major shock to a lot of people, I think, at this point, if that was not the case.
And that will be. So you got to jump off to go to your next appointment, right?
Quick note on 2022 forward Jalen Washington. All signs pointing to a North Carolina commitment.
We talked about that yesterday.
Yep. So wouldn't be shocked for that to happen anytime soon here. So that's one.
Is that just because they were in early?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with.
I'm surprised he didn't give Mike Woodson and those guys more credence.
I mean, yeah, I think the big thing was Hubert Davis has done a phenomenal job with these big men that he's been able to recruit in about 2 months of him being on the job, 3 months here. So a lot of it has to do with his specific plan that he wants. And I think that's just tooled a little bit different than obviously Mike Woodson. Mike Woodson seems to be a lot more guard heavy, where North Carolina and Hubert Davis are a lot more big heavy. And I think that just resonated a little bit more with Jalen Washington.
We'll see. Alec, thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate you. We'll talk about Xavier Booker more next week, because I think he's the piece that they really covet. Alec Lasley, join us from thehoosier.com. Make sure you give him a follow. We're back with more after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for...
Cool. All right. I'll talk to you a little bit. Yeah, we'll have more stuff up right around like 1-ish. Everything's central time down there. So,
are you using your laptop or your phone?
Laptop.
We're going to. You need to check your Wi-Fi.
Does it keep
speed?
I don't know why. I don't know why it does that, because sometimes it works perfectly and other times it doesn't. So I'll figure that out. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, we just need to check your speed, your streaming speed.
All right, we'll do.
And then the site, I know this is a busy weekend, but that's something that we can get Matt to do.
I keep reaching out to the one guy who I was given the information for, but he hasn't responded yet. So I'm going to try to reach out again, probably today. You
can also go through Michelle. She knows these sites inside.
I went through Michelle, and she gave me this guy's name. I think it was Ryan. That he deals more with that specific part. Yeah,
he's up at Michigan, where he handles the Michigan site. Ryan Tice. He is slow. I don't know why he's so fucking slow.
Yeah, so that's who I've been trying to get in contact with.
But we just got to get all that stuff cleaned up, man.
Will do.
But all right, we'll talk after the weekend.
Talk to you later.
And credentials are in for the Big Ten Media Days and all that stuff. So we'll talk about all that.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
All right, see you. All right, what do I have? I don't have anything, right?
So I haven't heard from Bozich yet. I guess he just
he doesn't come on till he didn't come on till 10. Okay. He's out walking his dog, probably.
Oh.
Where is that? That looks like Louisville.
What is it?
Hoops, no. 3D Empire. No, that's just the teams. Where? It doesn't say where this is.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring us back in.
For a used vehicle, Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington's got you covered. They're Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. For deals like this, how about a new 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month? Or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Friday. Thanks a lot for joining us as always. Hope you've got great plans for the weekend. I'm sitting here reading Jalen Lewis, the #2 prospect in ESPN's top 60. I don't know where he is in Rivals, probably up there around the same, is signing with the Overtime Elite program. We've talked about that, kind of a competitor to the G League of sorts. Lewis is the highest ranked prospect to sign with the Upstart League, a clear sign of the traction Overtime is gaining with elite talent in the U.S. and abroad. I'm fine with that. Those are guys that should be playing in the NBA, maybe. But how's that going to affect things? He played at high school in Oakland, California. He was among a group of elite prospects invited to try out for USA basketball in June. He's measured 6'10" with a 7-foot wingspan. He's one of the most exciting young talents in the country, and we're humbled that he has chosen Overtime Elite to. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I think that those kids should be there prepping for the pros. You know, I think that'll make college basketball better. It'll make it more rounded again. I think this could be a good thing to a degree. As long as you don't lose too many of the greats, but they're going to need as many as possible. For that league to be successful, you're going to have teams and players to fill those teams.
Now, do you know the Overtime Elite? Are they guaranteed to stay if so many years, or are they? How long does that work?
Well, we had them on. We talked about this on the show before. It's they get paid a salary. They get, I think, health insurance. They get money to go back to school. If their pro prospects don't work out, I can't remember all of it, but I'm not sure if they're talking about it. Overtime Elite has raised significant capital in its push to become a real alternative for elite high school and international prospects to use as a training program. Lewis's signing is another indication of the traction the league has gained in grassroots cities in the United States and internationally. The league previously announced the signings of 5-star prospects, Amen and Osar Thompson in the class of 22, and Matthew and Ryan Brawley in the class of 23, as well as another guy from Spain. The league they only have 10 players right now under contract. So
I'm curious if they have a maximum or like how that works.
Well, what do you do? What are you going to do with 10 players? Well, you graduate high school. These are high school players.
So this is technically being pro out of high school without being in the G League or the NBA.
Yeah.
But I guess who do you compete against?
Well, that's right now they only have 10. I guess they want to grow this into a league.
Okay, so it would be the Overtime Elite League, not a team. I was under the impression that it was a team.
Their goal is to make it a league, but I don't know. You can't. This is not a competitor to the G League because it's a precursor to the G League. Now, they could work out something with the NBA which is I think they should do, to have a relationship with this league and the G League, guaranteeing a year, or something. The G League needs some excitement. The G League sucks.
So I'm curious too, though. You said that they give them money to go back to college. I'm assuming once you've,
If
could
they're
it be
pro-
like
if they're pro
JUCO? Could they
prospects
go
don't
back
work out or
to
something.
could they go back to a Division I team per se if they spent a year or two in the overtime
No.
elite and go back to? No.
Not
I guess
if
that
you're-
makes sense since it's considered
I
a
don't-
professional league. But
Yeah, I don't think so if they turn professional, no. But I don't know that with all the rule changes. God, who
Yeah.
knows? But it's just another change on the landscape. We see Indiana, like I said, they're recruiting, man. They're recruiting, and offering. Things are staying the same for Indiana right now, but Indiana is also different. They have a completely different staff. So
it's interesting because you can only prepare for this so much without knowing what's going to happen, because not a single team in college basketball has any idea how this is going to work after one full season. Nobody does.
nope. And if this gains traction, I don't know. There's so much going on. It's hard for them to gain traction with this. And now with name, image, likeness, that may have really put a crimp in this league's attempt, because you already got guys getting paid. I mean, this would work for some, but I know. Yeah.
The exposure isn't going to be there like it is in Division I college basketball, I feel like, with this overtime elite, especially with name, image, and likeness.
That's what's changed this. They would have been fine if the NCAA had not been forced to make the changes that they're making. And they expected the NCAA to not make the changes they're making. But I think this will put a crimp in this. And I think there's going to be too much. I mean, there will not be a reason for this to stick around. There will not be TV. There will not be enough money to support this. I just don't see this thing surviving personally. But what do I know?
Yeah, I would say the big thing early on is going to be how many of the top players they can get. And they have one right now, you said, in Jalen Lewis. And if they can get more, that could open a door for them. If they don't, if they just get a few guys out of maybe international areas or a few of the mid-tier guys here in the U.S., I don't see that really being enough to pull them over the edge for anything.
Holy cow, what is this? Projection Sports. I'll have to send that to you. I don't know what that is, but it looks like something cool that we could use. Rick Bozich is going to join us next. Looking forward to talking to him about the Overtime Elite League, in addition to other things. How's the name, image, likeness going to work? The Purvis Ellison thing with Louisville. Kentucky and Indiana playing again.
Yep.
UK versus IU basketball, man.
I saw somebody say that Mike Woodson doesn't really, or any head coach, they don't really have a say in who goes on the schedule. They say it's the athletic director.
Bull crap.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of thinking. But do you?
Let me tell
does
you,
the athletic director have the final
if
say?
that was the
they can meet
case,
with coaches.
The athletic director is the ultimate boss.
Yes.
If he says, "Look, we're playing this game for whatever reason," they're going to play the game. But generally, you want to have a very good working relationship between the two. And if there's a reason they don't want to play Calipari, he's going to say, "Look, dude, I don't want to play that game." So they're not going to schedule it. I mean, an AD is not going to go against his coach. That's you got a poor relationship there. But Calipari is just being you know what? I mean, it's not just it's robbing college basketball. But truth be told, Indiana didn't want Kentucky to be playing them over the last few years. I'll be honest with you. It would
And
have
that's
been
the
an
other thing
embarrassment.
too. Kentucky fans don't want to have anything to do with Indiana right now. They think it
Oh,
hurts their
that's-
schedule.
Oh, bull crap. That's a load of crap. They say that, and that's a load of crap. They like to come here and recruit. Then look at the teams they play. Are you kidding me? I want to hear that load of crap. That's just baloney. Baloney. If that's the truth, why does everybody want Indiana? All the TV networks want Indiana on their schedule. Indiana doesn't hurt anybody.
For TV networks is different because TV networks bring in ratings.
Well, why do the ratings come in? Because people watch. Because it's
people watch.
Indiana.
But I'm talking about in terms of competitiveness. That's what I'm talking about. For
baloney.
Is it true or not? I don't know. But that's the thing they like to say when it comes to.
But it's not true. They like to say whatever excuse they can come up with other than the truth.
I hate giving Kentucky fans excuses, and I hope you're right about it. But that's just what I've heard before.
But it's all it is an excuse. I mean, baloney. That's the biggest bunch of crap. But I will also say it's fortunate for Indiana that they weren't playing during that time because they would get their butts handed to them for a number of years, and it would have been ugly.
And they
like
can still say that they've
Purdue
won
right
2
now.
of the last 3 meetings right now.
Exactly. So, but it needs to now. It's time to get back on the schedule right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they could be done. Calipari doesn't want it because he knows that, especially now, he should have done it with Miller. He could have whipped his ass for 4 years. But this is a different situation. It won't happen while Calipari's there, I don't believe, because I think that he is on his last couple of years, and the last thing he's going to want is to have Indiana scheduled at the very end and for Indiana to come in and kick his ass in Rupp Arena on his way out the door.
But here's the annoying thing about it all. The fact that they don't play in the regular season, it gives the NCAA selection committee a reason to put them in the same general area of the bracket every single time.
They don't need a reason.
Tournament.
They don't need a reason. They do it all the time anyway. But the unfortunate thing about that is Indiana hasn't given them the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, during the Archie Miller era, yes, of course.
Excuse me. So hopefully that changes as well. Yeah, you know what? That's the great thing. That is the one good thing about the NCAA selection committee. They always manage to take care of some of these issues, like teams not scheduling. So hopefully they can get that done if that turns out to be the case. But we'll look forward to that. And we look forward to Hall of Famer Rick Bozich joining us up next. We're going to go ahead and take a break and do that soon. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans. Hello, Mr. Rick.
How, sir?
I'm doing great, sir. How are you today?
I'm good. A little warm, but I'll be all right.
Is it warm out there? Muggy?
Yeah, it's muggy. We had a big storm last night that blew through, and now it's more humid than it was yesterday.
Yeah, we had them in and out.
It's July. You had a storm last night?
Well, it came through about 4 and stopped, and we played golf at 6 like it never happened.
Where do you play?
At Eagle Point.
Is that where Woodson plays?
He probably has. I saw him a couple weeks ago at a place 5 minutes from here, and I keep forgetting the name of it.
That's the one.
Yeah. This is where I live, actually. It's when you're coming up from up 37, it's the Lake Monroe exit.
Okay.
About 15 minutes south.
How long does it take you to get to the football or basketball?
15, 20 minutes. It's a complaint here, but I mean, I hate it. It sucks, but I used to live in Greenville, and I'm like, man, it's the same distance. There's stuff in between at home, and there's nothing here. It's just a big blank the whole ride. Everything is 20 minutes away.
It's a lot easier to get around up there, though, when the students are gone, right?
Oh, yeah. Without question. To use a Don Fisher phrase. I can't say that. I can't say that without thinking of Don. Without question. Man, he's got that. When he starts coming on in the fall, I start saying that. I catch myself saying that because he's on every Monday, and everything he answers without question. Everybody's got their tells, and I'm like, oh man.
Yours, Jim, I've said before, is looking forward to it.
Does Fish still go on with Dockich every Monday too?
Yeah, that's his day. He calls that his show. It took me a long time to realize. He calls that his show that he does. Don, that's his show that he does. And it took me the longest time to realize that's what he was talking about. I'm like, oh, you mean the interview you do with us each week? But yeah, he starts the beginning of the season and goes to the end of the season, and that's golf season then for him.
I'm going to bring us back in.
He's still really good.
Oh, yeah.
In Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Friday. Could not be happier to have Hall of Famer Rick Bozich with us. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
Cannot complain. A little bit of a slower time right now, trying to catch our breath as the basketball slows down. It's not stopped, though. There's still plenty of stuff going on this weekend, AAU stuff, but recruiting slowing a little bit, offers slowing a little bit, so time to catch a little bit of a breath, but stuff's still going on.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't yesterday the first day of the first evaluation period where coaches were out in, I believe, Hoover, Alabama, Atlanta, Atlantic City, a couple other spots, looking at players. Saw pictures of, coaches from every program in the country at different locations. And then I know Indiana got a big football commitment, I believe, on Wednesday. And in the word, they're getting another one today.
Very possible. Omar Cooper from Lawrence North yesterday, Donovan McCullough's big-time target who's already at Indiana, and he's going to room with C.J. Gunn, who was found that out yesterday. So kind of a unique thing, but yes, and another potential big one coming in. So big news continuing to come in. Big changes for Indiana. The entire. I mean, you've been around Indiana a long time, and I've talked about this. There are six major programs right now. Both basketballs, football, baseball, soccer, women's soccer,
swimming,
the track, swimming, and diving that are elite and top 25. I don't know that has ever happened. Swimming, yes, and basketball, but all of these together at the same time, Indiana's about to enter a golden age in athletics, potentially.
Yeah, they moved up 10 points, 10 spots, which is a lot in the Directors' Cup series, which is a way they evaluate programs across the board. Men's soccer was their strongest program of all, obviously making it to the championship game before they lost to Marshall. But yeah, you're right. Record-setting year by the women's basketball team. We saw, the baseball team had a solid year until the end. They kind of had some struggles and didn't make the tournament. Men's basketball seems to be on a good track, and of course, football. They're one of the top 2 or 3 stories in the Big Ten going into this year. Ohio State is obviously the team and the story, but you could make a case after that Indiana's getting more attention than it's ever gotten in the offseason in football.
And you talk about the football, the recent commitment, potential more commitments coming, the great transfers that have already hit here, the coaching changes that were all positive, a lot of expectations, maybe more so than ever, going into this September 4th kickoff with Iowa on the football side. But it's a welcome expectation. Crowds coming back. It could be a big year for Tom Allen.
Yeah, and that's the number one thing really I want to see is last year they were 6-2 and no crowds. This year their preseason picked, I've seen 4 or 5 different publications. They're no worse than 3rd in the Big Ten East, and in some of them they're 2nd behind Ohio State. It's between them and Penn State. So will they pack Memorial Stadium? I'm not saying it's the last component, but it's one of the last components that, it's time for fans to do their part. If you want a winning program, you got to fill the stadium and fill all your allotted seats. And so when you have games against teams like Ohio State, when they come in this year, it's not 20,000 Ohio State fans and 30,000 Indiana fans.
Yeah, because this year when Indiana goes to Ann Arbor, even though Indiana will still be a better team, they might be favored. I don't know up there. But there's going to be a huge difference this year when you have 110,000 people in that stadium. Even though you're the better team, it's a great equalizer that I think Indiana saw last year, not having those fans. That's going to add a level of difficulty to Indiana's schedule.
Well, they got 3 of those games, really. The very first game is at Iowa, which is a tough place to play. They got to play at Michigan, which even though Michigan's team isn't as good as they want to be or used to be, tough place to play. And Indiana has not won there since 1967. And the third one, obviously, is Penn State, which is the top 10 environment in college football. And they certainly remember the way that game ended last year, and they certainly remember the way they played last year. They started slow and finished strong. So those are 3 really challenging road games for Indiana. And even the home schedule. I mean, you got Ohio State at home. You got Cincinnati at home. You can argue that that's for a Power 5 team. That's one of the 5 or 10 toughest non-conference home games in the country. Like Cincinnati's pretty much consensus top 10.
Oh yeah, and Idaho, while not, it's Bobby Petrino's brother, so he's been there quite a while from what I remember. So
about a decade.
That'll be fun in and of itself just for that, but they've had some success at their level. It's not like they're a pushover there. So not a new program. So a lot of challenges. Maryland has been on the rise. Rutgers is on the rise, teams in their division. So it's going to be a challenging year for that program. No question.
Yeah. And they're dealing with expectations, all those different kinds of things. And to me, the thing that I think is going to help them is they've got so many players back. They lost the last game of the season last year, so it's not like they went out on a note where they could pound their chest about how good they were. I mean, they got beat, and deservedly so, by Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss outplayed in that game. But Tom Allen and his staff, I think, have done a very good job of bringing in grad transfers, guys who were highly rated recruits from – most of them from, top 20 or top 25 programs who I would think they're going to hit on a few of those guys, and they're going to be instant contributors, whether it's the offensive lineman from Michigan or DJ Matthews at slot receiver or the running back from Southern Cal or the wide receiver from Texas A&M or even the defensive lineman from Northern Illinois who did play a ton. Indiana's always had an issue, and most teams in the Big Ten have an issue with depth because you do get guys injured, and I think they've solidified their depth for this year with the grad transfers they brought in.
Absolutely, and we've got the Big Ten Media Days coming up in just 2 weeks.
Yeah,
which is in Indianapolis.
Chicago too.
And that's it. I was just going to say, is that just something else that's boding well side of the Big Ten championship? I mean, just keep adding it on and on and on. It would just be crazy, but it's going to be a fun year regardless, just to see fans back in football stadiums, period. I cannot wait to walk outside and hear that on a kickoff. I mean, it's missed. It's just not as – I can't imagine what it's like for the players. I mean, you get used to it, but it's such a different atmosphere, especially those teams that rely on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've not only for football but for basketball. The home court does provide a big boost, I think, in basketball at all the venues I know that I go to regularly, whether it's Assembly Hall or the KFC Yum Center or Rupp Arena. Home court is a big factor. In football, it can be the same thing. I don't think we've seen it as much as Indiana just because they've never packed the place. So it comes back to that again. Can they get people to pack that place and turn it into – there's so many advantages that come for that. It not only is an advantage to your players of the emotional part of it, but it just creates a vibe and an atmosphere. When people are watching the game on TV, I think they take it more seriously, and it has to be something that's attractive to recruits. If you're a recruit and been told to come to Indiana to play at the top level of the Big Ten, and you come to a game and there's only 35,000 fans there, you're probably wondering what's going on. But if you come in and every seat is full and it's a loud and raucous environment, then the message is delivered. And even though it's not one of the larger stadiums in the Big Ten, now that the end zones have been enclosed, I think you have a chance to turn it in. Sort of like it's sort of like Oregon. Oregon is not a huge stadium, but they pack that place and fill it with music, and it becomes a happening.
Well, it was loud enough in '87 for Bo Schembechler to call a timeout because it was too loud. But that he got and was awarded, amazingly enough. But changing subjects now. Overtime Elite League. It's been a subject before. They've got a couple more guys. But with name, image, likeness, and all this stuff now hitting in the transfer portal, I don't know how that league is going to make it because it's mostly high school kids, although it is a nice draw with some bigger checks. I just, for them to have a league, enough players, I just don't know how they're going to draw enough to survive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's also something for players to stop and think about of, how much money am I going to get there as opposed to how much money I can possibly make at college, and I'm going to get considerably less exposure. There's going to be several of the players that didn't go to college are going to be in the NBA draft, which is at the end of the month. Jalen Green's one of them, but I can't think of the names even of the other ones, and I can't tell you much about Jalen Green. But if you can come into college basketball and have a really good season at a top program and be on TV, 15, 20, 25, or a lot of places every game on TV, you have a chance to really build your brand, not only through NIL, but in terms of your exposure to the rest of the country.
Yeah, I agree. And then there are just so many different things that are changing now. Teams, how they approach this. Kentucky still seems to be a team that they're going to live off the portal, it looks like, it seems. Mike Whitson is recruiting. These offers are going out for the 22 class, the 23 class. Maybe it's because he's still new. I don't know, but they are, you can tell, still building for the future. They are not planning on the portal being their way out with the number of offers that they are, and still going to look at kids. So it's unique to look at how different teams are approaching this right now.
Yeah, and I think everybody's still figuring it out as they go because the latest development in all this is in the last week, some of the talent that's gone into the portal, and not everybody had a chance really to be involved with those guys because they didn't have any scholarships left. And one of those teams would be Indiana. You had Dawson Garcia, a player that Archie Miller's staff was very active in recruiting. I think Indiana finished second to Marquette. He pulls out of the NBA draft and he ends up going to North Carolina. You've got Kofi Coburn, who's still possibly available. Doesn't seem like he wants to go back to Illinois because their team's been wiped out. You got Marcus Carr of Minnesota. So 3 of the 10 most talented guys in the portal have just really become hot names in the last week.
Is there any possibility that some or a couple of those guys end up just not at a place they wanted to be?
It's possible they might not get their first choice, but they'll still end up somewhere really good. I know with Carr, it's Texas, Kansas, Louisville, and Kentucky. Those are all pretty good choices, and I don't even know about Coburn. Kentucky is obviously mentioned with him for a very good reason. A, that's where a lot of guys go, and B, Orlando Antigua and Chin Coleman, the guys who brought him to Illinois, are now on John Calipari's staff, and he was quoted in the Chicago Tribune as saying, he would consider Kentucky. So we'll see.
Yeah, that would continue Kentucky's ability to just maintain building up a gigantic roster through transfers or whatnot. But, man, I don't know that that's good for college basketball, but it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. It's within there's not even close to not being within the rules. Any team can do this, and they just chose to go there.
Yeah, I agree with you. And for those of us who've been around and covered the game for a long time, this is such a dramatic change that it's going to take some getting used to. Younger people don't view it that way. But I think in time there'll be some adjustments made to it. And I think I've talked to you about this before. If I could make one change to the transfer portal idea, it would be that you can go one time without sitting out, but you have to stay for your sophomore year. I don't think people should be able to go their first year and then leave. You should have to stay for 2 years. What do we had? 1,700 guys in the portal this year. Is that what it was?
It's the last I've heard.
Yeah, I don't know. And I know this is a very old school philosophy, but I think there is some value in guys sticking around someplace, being told that, they got some work to do and it's not going to be easy, and fight through it and figure it out. And after their sophomore year, if they're still not happy, then go ahead and go. But I think I'm really dating myself, but I remember when, freshmen didn't even get to play.
Right.
Playing the freshman team.
Well, but I agree with you that it should be. And I've repeated that your sentiment a lot, because when you're a kid, you don't know, you don't have the ability to make lifelong decisions, and
right.
Waiting is not going to kill you.
No,
it just isn't. And it's a now society, and texting and all that has just created too much now. And everybody wants it now, and they can get it now. And
if you're that unhappy and you want to leave after your freshman year or during your freshman year, obviously you can go, but you do have to sit out then. That's what the difference would be. You don't get the freebie until you've stayed somewhere 2 years. I think that's a fair compromise. I really do.
At WDRB.com, where you're currently writing, you got a piece up about nervous Ellison. Could not get that out. A member of the 1986 U of L national championship team, but also now he's got guys that he's training, and everyone's reaching out to him except for Louisville, which is kind of odd. But there's a lot of these guys that are out training and doing all that. Usually they maintain great relationships with their alma maters, but when you have these changes at these schools, like Archie Miller was here, there was a great disconnect. I don't know if that's the same with what's going on at Louisville, because I don't see Mick Cronin as that tight. But tell us about you wrote the story.
I think the disconnect happened at Louisville really under Rick Pitino, where once he took over, a lot of the Denny Crum players didn't really feel, I don't know what I wouldn't say welcome is the right word, but I'd say that
connected,
they didn't feel valued or connected to the program, that it was now Pitino's team and Pitino's guys. And little examples of it when he built the new practice facility at Louisville. When you walked in the lobby, there were a bunch of pictures on the wall of former Louisville players who were in the NBA, and it was like Francisco Garcia and Earl Clark, and it was Pitino guys. It wasn't Darrell Griffith or Wes Unseld or Butch Beard or guys who had played under Denny Crum, Derek Smith, who'd had really big NBA careers. And, those guys are very proud people, and that's one reason they're successful athletes. They've got that pride and they got that drive, and they didn't really feel like their achievements were sort of recognized, and that's just sort of continued through the years. And Purvis, he's the director of a 3-team program out of New Jersey called the New Jersey Scholars Elite, and he's got some really good juniors, 3 of the top 20 juniors in the country. And he said that, Hubert Davis, Mike Woodson, Duke assistant coach had all called interested in his guys, and he hadn't heard from Louisville, and he thought that was strange.
Yeah. Now, what does Louisville do now? Do they reach out and you almost have to?
He wants them to.
You would think that, because Chris Mack, just seems like a very outgoing guy, and seems like he would be the first guy that would be on the phone to do that. But yeah, I'm not following them a lot. Don't know what's going on there, but they've got other issues too. They've got the NCAA issues that are still hanging over their head, I would think, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of concern there among fans, or is that just a way of ignoring it and hoping
there's
it goes
concern,
away?
but I think people just, for the most part, try not to think about it. It's out there. It's been around. This has been going on now for 4 years. Remember that story broke in September of 2017. It's in the final step of the NCAA process with that secondary review board that they created. People are just waiting on that group to deliver their ruling, and we'll find out what happens then. I would think we would know something by by the fall, early fall. But just have to stay tuned with that one.
So I mean, I can't imagine that has anything to do with them not reaching out. What's to Purvis Ellison? What was the thought?
Why they're not reaching out? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're not reaching out. They're looking at other guys. I mean, they did have a guy, as I mentioned in the column, they did have a guy in Atlantic City yesterday where Purvis's teams were playing. Mike Pegues, one of their assistant coaches. So they were there, whether they were looking at Purvis's guys or not. And they're looking at other players, I guess, at this point.
It kind of reminds me of Terry Stotts being a 1976 Indiana All-Star from Bloomington North and did not play for any Indiana college.
Oklahoma.
Blew my mind.
My cousin at Oklahoma.
Really?
Yeah.
Who was your cousin?
Kerry Carabine scored 1,000. He was from Merrillville High School up in Northwest Indiana. He was 1,000-point scorer. Dave Bliss, now the disgraced Dave Bliss, was one of Bob Knight's assistant coaches, and he left and took the Oklahoma job. In his early days at Oklahoma, he recruited a bunch of Indiana kids. My cousin was one. Stotts was another. There was a kid, I think, by the name of Ray Whitley from Indianapolis somewhere. So he actually, Oklahoma did go to the NCAA tournament in 1979, and then Bliss left for SMU, and we don't really want to talk about what he did after that.
Yeah. So he must have left in the 75 season, a year ahead.
He did. 75 was his last year. Yeah, he wasn't around for 76.
Because I had to ask Laskowski. I was trying to find out how this all went down, and I'm like, how did he not play for Indiana? And he said, well, Indiana had their guys. I mean, I know it was the 76 team, but as I was looking down that roster, I mean, there was guys coming in that were from Illinois and other places. So I was still a little surprised.
That was back before the recruiting rankings, official recruiting rankings, but at the time it was thought Indiana had the best recruiting class in the country. It was a 6-player class. I can name them off the top of my head. It was Woodson and Butch Carter, who Butch Carter was obviously a good player, Chris Carter's older brother. Butch later played in the NBA for the Knicks and then coached. It was a kid by the name of Glenn Grunwald, who was the highest rated player in the group, but he suffered a knee injury and never did much at IU. He later went on to be the GM of the Knicks, I think, in the Raptors. He's involved in the NBA sometime. There was a kid by the name of Billy Cunningham, who was from Quinn Buckner's high school and left after his first year and went to UNLV.
This is not the same Billy Cunningham that coached in the NBA, is it?
No. This guy's there was a guy by the name of Derek Holcomb. He was a 6'10 or 6'11 center from Peoria, Illinois, who back in the day was a big deal. He transferred to Illinois. You didn't transfer within the conference back then. And I'm pretty sure that the 6th guy was Mike Madej, and he left the earliest one. He got Knight went crazy in the locker room one game, and he saw it and he said, "I'm out of here." So I'm pretty sure that Grunwald, Woodson, and Carter were the only guys who went the distance. The 3 of them left.
Well, they could have been room for Stotts and Larry Bird.
There we go. And Larry Bird. Larry Bird was there when I was there.
But for both weeks?
Larry Bird was there for the month of the 74-75 season. You hear, there were 3 stories. One, that he was homesick, which I'm sure was true. Another one was that he was rooming with a guy by the name of Jimmy Wisman, who was a really, handsome dude from Chicago who had money and really nice clothes, and Bird didn't have much. And it wasn't really a great fit. And the third thing was people always talked about was that how Kent Benson was pretty tough on Bird in early season practices and stuff, and Bird didn't go for it. And so, I think he hitchhiked home, didn't he? That's the legend. He didn't want to be there anymore, and he hitchhiked back home to French Lick. He just left.
So he actually went through practices, though.
On those unorganized ones back
right.
It's not the stuff they're doing now with the sand drills and all that stuff. I think they played pickup and ran back in those days. I don't even think they did much weightlifting. It'd be like you run on your own and you play pickup.
I can't you can never say what if, but can you imagine if Larry Bird had stayed at Indiana?
Yeah, no.
Even with Bob Knight, I think eventually with Isaiah Thomas, he realizes when he has specialness. And I can't imagine what 77 would have been like with Larry Bird, and had Larry Bird been on that team.
And 78. It would have been a 75, 76, 77, 78 with Larry Bird. They would have won multiple championships. I mean, Knight knew how good he was because he recruited him. He's a kid, obviously from Springs Valley High School, which isn't normally a place that you go in and get guys from. And I'm pretty sure Louisville was the other school involved in it. And there's a famous story about how when Denny Crum came to visit him, he challenged Bird to a game of horse and told him that if he won the game of horse, he had to go to Louisville. And Bird beat him. But, Bird was an interesting character. You remember the story that he's one of the first guys that quit the Indiana All-Star team. He played on the Indiana All-Stars in 1974. They were coached by Kirby Overman, who was the New Albany High School coach. And he didn't think he got to play enough after the first game. And he said – back then I think they played 1 week in Indianapolis. They had a whole week off, and they played the second week in Kentucky. It wasn't like they played back-to-back nights. And he didn't play enough the first game, and he got disgruntled, and he quit. So Bird, he was not as mature then as he is now. And when things didn't go his way, I mean, that's what he did.
Rick, what do you have coming up next? I know you've got the piece out right now that I just talked about in regards to Purvis Ellison at WDRB.com.
There's not a ton going on. We're getting ready for the football media days. Obviously, the same week of the Big Ten is also the ACC in Charlotte and the SEC in Birmingham. So Eric and I have to figure out how we're going to cover all that stuff. And I'm a big baseball fan, so we get the baseball All-Star game coming up and the baseball draft on Sunday. And Zai, you have any guys who are going to get drafted?
I don't think that they're losing any pitchers this year.
Right. Louisville's got a catcher who's going to be one of the top 4 picks, might even be the first pick, Henry Davis.
I'm glad you brought up baseball. I keep forgetting to do it when Mike DeCourcy's on with us on Tuesdays because he's a big Reds fan. I know you're a White Sox fan, but are the White Sox still in first place? Yes, they are.
They are. I believe they are.
To see the White Sox, holy crap. You got the Red Sox in first place, the White Sox in first place, and the Houston Astros in first place in the American League. That just sounds weird to say. Period. And then, of course, over in the National League,
it's the Mets, the Brewers, and I don't know if have the Dodgers overtaken the Giants.
Giants are still a game up on the Dodgers.
Giants have been hanging in there. That's the biggest surprise in baseball right now. It's the Giants. Nobody picked them to win the division or even finish second. It was supposed to be all Dodgers and all Padres.
And even though my Reds are 7 games back, they've been charging, man. They've been charging.
Yeah, they've overtaken the Cubs.
And the Cardinals.
And the Cardinals. They don't have enough. They need some bullpen arms, man. Their bullpen's horrendous.
Yeah, they give up too much at the end. They gave up a 5-0 lead against Kansas the other night. Kansas City. It was driving me crazy. Rick, what you got vacation coming up? Anything fun?
I don't know. I'll probably take some time off and do something. I'm working on my tomato plant right now, and trying to keep the squirrels from eating them. They've got their first 3 tomatoes. I'm not very happy about that. So I went out and bought a cage to put around it. And I got some stuff you sprinkle on the ground, which I think is supposed to smell like fox urine. So we'll see. My backyard stinks, but I'm going to have tomatoes.
Put your dog out there.
My dog's too slow. She can catch rabbits, but not squirrels.
Oh, man, they're fast. I can't thank you enough for joining us, man. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
All right. Talk to you during football.
Thank you, sir. Rick Bozich, Hall of Famer, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Back with more after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for
There's Dustin.
Hello, Dustin.
Hello.
What does he call him when he wears yellow?
He's the current stage leader of the Tour de France.
Tour de France. Is that still going on?
I think.
Is Rick Bozich just an encyclopedia?
Oh, yes.
Sports knowledge.
Yes. He's a Hall of Famer.
Man.
He's a Hall of Famer. You know, he went to IU, and he was in school in 74, 5, and 6.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He is perfect time.
Well, he's the one who had the story about Bob Knight giving him a Dutch rub.
Give him a what?
A Dutch rub and a noogie or whatever the heck it's called.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. He got from Bob Knight. Who the hell can say that?
Not many.
Not many writers. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
July 17 is the date the 4-star receiver from Tampa Bay Tech is making his decision to Iowa State, Indiana, Maryland, and Kansas State. 4 finalists. Cyclones are believed to be the front runner. What?
Isn't there a Texas offensive lineman who Indiana's supposed to land today?
Bray Lynch.
Who?
Bray Lynch. That's
Bray?
the guy you're thinking of. Bray, B-R-A-Y. From Austin, Texas. Deciding between Indiana, Oklahoma State, and Duke. Such an odd trio, don't you think?
That would be an odd trio. Yeah, usually if you got Duke in there, I mean, usually you're looking at Vanderbilt, Northwestern.
Yeah.
Stanford. I mean, usually those schools kind of, or at least there's another one in the mix.
Yeah, it's pretty odd, but I'm pretty sure Indiana is the projected favorite to get him. He's not like a 4-star or anything, but he's a 3-star out of Texas.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring us back.
For just $180 a month, or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Friday. TGIF. Thank goodness it's Schutte. Doesn't work out, but
you could put something for
RBO's,
the Schutte.
Arbo Sprint said he watched film on Lynch yesterday. He was like he could play inside or outside. Great footwork. Is that the kid we're talking about? All the linemen?
So. Yeah.
O-linemen from Texas that a commitment is impending potentially towards Indiana. Also, Gregory Gaines, the third. July 17 is the date that 4-star receiver from Tampa Bay, that would be, if they could lock him down along with Omar Cooper, buddy, Indiana would be
in good shape.
Yeah. Indiana's one of those 4 finalists amongst Iowa State, Maryland, and Kansas State. To me, I mean, that's a given. The kid's from Florida. Why the hell would you go to Iowa State, Maryland, or Kansas State? Indiana's a proven winner. They're upcoming in the Big Ten. You got quarterback lined up.
Well, Iowa State's a top 10 team right now. They're going to be a top 10 team when the rankings come out. So that's probably, I mean, they surged last season, and a lot of people think that they could be a contender in the Big 12. So that is probably a good reason. And then Mike Lasley's he's an excellent recruiter at Maryland.
He's done a great job.
Even though they've not been very good, he's done an excellent job at raking in talent. So you can't, I don't know this kid, but Indiana's right there in the mix, obviously, and you need that kind of talent. You pair those two guys together, and that's a pretty good combination, pretty good 1-2 punch on the outside.
Yeah. Having that is, man, that's that's what Oklahoma's get. You know, you get those kind of dual. When you get those kind of dual receivers, and Indiana has more than just that. But that's what it takes to become elite. That's what I'm saying. You can't just get Omar Cooper.
Right.
You got to get Omar Cooper and kid's name I already forgot. Daggone it.
I got it for you. It's Greg Gaines.
Yeah, Gregory Gaines from Tampa. Oh, it's another thing. From Tampa. Tom Allen.
Yeah, he's recruited well there, yeah.
Coach Steichel there. He's got a.
I believe, I could be mistaken, but I do believe it's the same high school that Michael Penix came from. Is it Tampa Bay Tech? Is that what you're looking at right now?
Yep.
Yep, that's where Michael Penix came from. So there you go.
Come on. You tell me Michael Penix is not on the phone going, yo, what's up, boy? You need to come up here to Bloomington.
I mean, I think that's probably happening quite a bit.
Okay, this is the get. Omar Cooper was a great get. Don't get me wrong. You beat Purdue, but this is a great get because he's a 4-star. Why is he a 4-star? And his final 4 is Iowa State, Indiana, Maryland, and Kansas State, and he's from Tampa, Florida. No Florida schools in there.
Great question.
No SEC schools in there.
Well, what's his offer list look like? I mean, he may not want to go to one of those schools. He may. I mean, part of this is we talk about this now too. A lot of kids are starting to realize that if they want a shot to go out and they think they can play immediately. So if one of those 4 schools is going to give him a better opportunity, I mean, typically you have a lot of those 4-star kids that will commit to SEC programs. So that could play a big factor. He might have a chance to play earlier at those 4 schools you just named.
And he might have a better chance playing at Iowa State quicker than Indiana.
Well, and the other thing too is you can't rule this out. I mean, we talk about playing time. Maybe the kid, he might just like those coaches. He might like that staff. He might like who is on there. It may not just be about playing time. He may have a genuine connection with the players, with the coaching staff, things like that. So,
it could be buddies. There's all kind. Yeah, you never know the connection. Right. Tim points out that Indiana has beat out at least one Power 5 on all of their football commitments so far. I'm not sure that that's completely accurate, is it? But their football commit average is up to 3.3 stars, which that's probably an entire star bump from a decade ago, which is huge. Cannot begin to say how big that is. So there's that as we get closer and closer to football season. 2 weeks, man, for media days.
Even if that's not 100% accurate, I don't know how many commits Indiana has currently, but even if that was not 100% accurate, I know that Indiana's beating some Power 5 and programs in a lot of these categories. And, it was not that long ago that Indiana was fighting against MAC schools and Sunbelt schools for these commitments. So to take the next step up and be beating Big Ten programs, not just once in a while, consistently, that's a big deal.
Does getting Omar Cooper help or hurt to land games? I mean, a wide receiver. You need, 8 wide. I mean, 10 wide receivers on a team, especially when it throws the ball like Indiana does.
Right. I think the wide receiver position is probably not as big of a deal to have that many. I mean, you look at Ohio State. Look at the number of 5-star and 4-star guys that go to Ohio State, and their line, they don't care. I mean, they might transfer after the first year or two if they're not seeing the field, but those guys still commit to Ohio State and they go to play. So I don't think at wide receiver, you have a chance to get on the field. Even if you're not a starter, you can get into a rotational role or in certain formations or certain schemes or play calls or whatever the case might be. So I don't think that's as big of a deal. I would think you would want to be surrounded by as much talent as you possibly could if you're a wide receiver, because Michael Crabtree type players aren't, and Chris Olave type players aren't very frequent. So I would think you'd want somebody to pair up to say, hey, if we have 2 or 3 guys that can catch footballs, guess what? That's going to open me up on more opportunities. So you can spread the wealth a little bit better, I would think, instead of being targeted, 14, 15 times a game. I think that helps. I mean, look at what Ty Freifogel did last year for Watt Fillier. Having that as a threat opened him up a lot more. They weren't just keying in on Watt Fillier. They were able to have to key in on Freifogel and Peyton Hendershot, and that opens things up. So in my opinion, the wide receiver position, that's not as big of a deal as it would be for maybe, say, a running back, quarterback, some of these other positions.
As we head long into the football season, Big Ten Media Days, 2 weeks away, really the first one in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be in Indianapolis. Looking forward to that. It should be the start.
I hope it stays in Indianapolis, by the way.
It won't. I wish it would too. It should. But all those Big Ten people live in Chicago, and they're going to keep it in Chicago, which in Indianapolis should be the home of the Big Ten.
I agree with you there. Yeah, 100%.
There's that.
I mean,
there's that.
It's a better setting for. I mean, I don't know if Lucas Oil Stadium's the answer for that to be the long-term solution, but in terms of walkability, affordability, able to get hotel rooms close, to me, it's Indianapolis is no question the better spot for it. But you're probably right with the headquarters in Chicago and a lot of the Big Ten writers living in the Chicago area. It probably will go back there, but we'll see. We'll see.
My only fear is, aren't the Bears moving out of Soldier Field? Or is that just talk?
Yeah. You would probably know more than me. I don't know.
I know more about nothing than anyone.
My guess is it's just speculation, but I really don't know.
Well, sometimes they do that just to get the bump, but
well, and they there's always that threat too, and I don't know how this stuff works, but the threat of moving stadiums or leaving towns or whatever, so they can convince the taxpayers to agree to a 1% sales tax increase or whatever the case might be. Is usually some sort of funding is usually behind that.
All right. John, the producer, says we got to take a break. That means we got to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're...
Did I even text you for a break?
No.
Okay.
It's 10:40.
Yeah. I just didn't know when you were going to go since you went long with Rick.
Well, I can stay on schedule with
TGIS.
Dustin.
Thank God it's Schutte.
That's right. TGIS. Oh, that was a show, wasn't it?
TGIF?
TGIS.
You might be thinking of NCIS. I don't know.
No, TGIS.
I don't remember TGIS.
Well, we've got it now. Thank God it's
Schutte. There you go.
That's for every day. That counts for Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. It's just TGIS.
Once we get to hump day.
Yeah, it's all downhill from there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's no good that will come of this.
How many shows do you join per week, Dustin? I feel like you've got a lengthy schedule of shows you join.
It depends. It's anywhere from 1 to probably 12 or 13.
My goodness. That's what happens when you're the lead. You're the lead editor at Saturday Tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're probably on numerous Big Ten shows.
Yeah, I did Sirius XM this morning. I did 2 in Columbus, 1 in Lafayette earlier this week. I forget.
Hey, let them know that they ever need any Indiana content to just reach out to me.
What do you in terms of what?
I'm laughing
like
at you.
Do you want to,
I do a lot of like when Indiana's playing someone,
yeah.
I do a lot of cross. I reach out to a Michigan State person, Michigan person,
yeah.
yada, yada, yada.
Gotcha.
Which I know a lot of those, they do that with the writers, but writers are not always good speakers.
That's true.
A lot of the times they're not. That's why they became writers.
Yeah,
that's
why they did it.
A lot of the time I'm not, and yet they still call me back.
No. I always say I've got a voice for radio, a face for radio, a voice for a face for radio, a voice for newspapers, and a writing skills for your book.
All right, I got to bring us back.
All of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
How's everybody doing on this Friday? I didn't hear you. Must be doing well. Dustin,
we're almost to the weekend. How can it be bad? How can it be bad?
It's TGIS, baby. Thank God it's Schutte.
I always like to stand out on Fridays. I should make it like Yellow Shirt Friday.
Well, as Dustin Schutte continues to lead the Tour de France, thank you for taking time out on your break from that today. What stage are you at?
I don't think I've left the Peloton. It would be some sort of stationary bike is the only thing I'm capable of pedaling.
Market 8, dude.
I don't know when the last time I even rode a bike was.
Let's see. Tom is home working from home. Good for you, man. Except for if you're doing it on a weekend, that won't be fun.
No.
But yeah, what are your weekend plans? I have not a lot that I can recall.
I've waited till the 11th hour to do anything around the house, but this weekend I will go on vacation a little bit this week. I'm going up to Nashville. I'll be heading up to Indiana to visit family, and then obviously, as you mentioned, in 2 weeks I'll be I'll be at Big Ten Media Days. So hopefully we can play a little golf. So it's got a two week venture here of touring the South and Midwest a little bit.
You know, they should do a media event with the media days, where a golf event where the coaches involved, where you can actually talk to these people out in a different environment, because it makes a gigantic difference. I'm telling you. Not having that last year was horrible.
Yeah.
I remember when first time I got to speak to Taiwan Mullen. If I had gotten that on a Zoom, what he said would not have had the impact, and how he said it would not have had the impact that it has left upon me. It was the first time I talked to him, and I'll never forget it. You know, him talking about how bought in he was, how serious he was, that he didn't drive 16 hours for nothing, yada, yada. And he has backed up every word from that moment. But he was serious, and I could tell that he was not being cocky, because Taiwan Mullen's not a cocky guy. But he was confident. This was a freshman who had never stepped on the field yet. And I was like, I will not forget that. But had I not been there, if that had been Zoom, you would not have gotten that impact.
Well, you talked about it. You talked about it yesterday. When coaches are at the podium, there are some good questions that get asked and some good answers that you'll get. But for the most part, that's for Big Ten Network. That's why they're only up there 15 minutes. When you get a chance to talk with them, it's not really a one-on-one. It depends on who you talk to, I guess. You're not going to get one-on-one with Ryan Day or Jim Harbaugh, James Franklin, but you can get.
Yes, you do. I got a picture sitting in front of Harbaugh.
Well, you can get a little bit more. My point is, you can walk up to guys like Tom Allen and Mike Loxley, Jeff Brom. You can get a little bit more of a personal conversation. The other thing that you don't get from Zoom, and I don't know if people, I'm sure people will understand this having had to work from home, is that you might have a story idea and you need to ask, let's just use Tom Allen as an example. You want to ask him 2 or 3 questions. You can get those and then you can move on and you can go talk with Jeff Brom and ask him 2 or 3 questions. When you're on that Zoom, you're probably on that Zoom for the full hour or however long they're going to be there to get that story.
And you might get one question, and you're going to get one question, maybe.
Exactly.
And someone else may ask it in a different way on top of that. So,
right. And I think the stories are going to be better this year because you're going to have more of that personal. You're not going to have guys, sitting and hoping that they get their name called so they can ask a question. And it's just going to be a lot different. I'm excited. I'm excited for it to be back in live and in person. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I expect the ratings will probably be pretty good too, since we missed it last year.
I am more excited about September 4th.
Well, yeah, who isn't?
Kickoff, baby.
Well, I'm more excited about August 28th because that's when we get the first game of the season.
Who's that?
Nebraska, Illinois, Champaign. Big game. That's huge.
Huge in Champaign.
Huge across the ramifications. Brett Bielema's first game back at Illinois.
I don't care. They suck.
Over 20. They're going bowling this year. Over 20 super seniors returning. The game's in Champaign. You got Nebraska, who just had the AD changed. Scott Frost hasn't had a winning season.
And he's going to get his ass beat in this game.
I'm not going to say that, but I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be it's not going to be the headliner that a lot of people look for, like Florida Miami was a few years ago, but it's going to be
the only thing we need.
A lot of implications.
One thing we need is Keith Jackson calling this game. Where's it being played?
Champaign.
Oh, too bad. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Soldier Field here in Chicago.
That was the game that was supposed to be played in Ireland, but they had to move it.
Man. College football in Ireland. How would that go over?
Well, they've done it before. I think Navy and Notre Dame have played over there a few years. Next year, Northwestern and Nebraska will play over there.
Okay, what I don't get is, are they trying to pick names or good teams? Because Nebraska's a name, not a good team. Northwestern's a decent team.
Well,
I would think if you're trying to get a foothold in a foreign country with something, you're going to send a marquee.
Well, let me tell you, part of it is the fact
Notre Dame was a marquee.
Yes.
Navy was it used to be.
Part of it is that I read this a few years ago when Nebraska was initially pegged as the team they wanted, because I think one of the executives, or I don't know what his title was, had gone to the Nebraska Notre Dame game in like the 1990s or early 2000s. I don't remember. I don't recall off the top of my head. And they saw how well Nebraska fans traveled. So a big part of that is they know that Nebraska fans are going to purchase the tickets and fly over to Dublin and watch their team. So you have then the local interest of people just seeing an American college football game. You have Nebraska fans who travel really well. And then it'll be interesting. Basically what Nebraska didn't want to do is give up a home game.
But is Illinois going to travel their fans?
Well, it's going to be Northwestern next year. So basically Nebraska didn't want to surrender one of its home games, and Northwestern was willing to surrender a home game in order to go over and play that game.
Okay, is Northwestern fans good? They don't travel. Hell, they don't go to home games.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a huge turnout on the Northwestern side, but it is also, it is also a once in a lifetime situation. So you might see.
What I'm thinking though. Nebraska was a good choice,
right?
But you needed to add another well-traveled school. Maybe from the East Coast to make it easy for them to get there. You could have come up with something. I'm just saying, if you're trying to, because they're trying to market this.
Right.
And they used to do it in the NFL. I'm like, why are you sending your crappy teams over?
It's true. I don't know.
I guess because they don't know the difference.
Yeah.
They don't know that it looks like crap.
Well, I think, and I don't know if this is a Big Ten thing. I don't know if this is a Nebraska thing. I don't know if it's a college football thing. So that's where that kind of plays in, because you would think you'd be able to find somebody, like a Virginia Tech or, somebody that would be willing to go over there. But it might be a Big Ten or a Nebraska thing where they're trying
But
to
it's
set this up.
also, this is a taxing. Coaches don't like this stuff. This messes with the season. This messes with the practice schedule. They have a focus, man. They're looking at game by game by game of what they want to accomplish. They don't care about going to Ireland. Tom Allen would not want to do this. I'm thinking he's trying to focus on the Big Ten. And a trip like that, while would be fun and exciting, man, it seemed like it might get you out of the rhythm, get you out of the practice rhythm, and a whole bunch of stuff.
And I think that's why they did this. It was originally scheduled, and it will be scheduled next year for week 0. And then usually you're going to have that week 0. You're going to break week 1, and then you'll have week 2. So you'll have a couple weeks there to get back into your rhythm. That might be the reason for it. I don't disagree with you, but I think that it's too much of a stage. It's too much of an opportunity to. That's a recruiting tool for both. That's going to be a recruiting tool for both Nebraska and Northwestern. Hey, commit, and we're going to go to Ireland. You're going to get a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I think from that aspect, you go win that football game. You're on the week 0. You're the only game in town. You have an opportunity to travel abroad. That's going to be appealing to a lot of kids, even if it's just once in that 4-year span.
Conor McGregor is UFC 264 this weekend, right?
I don't follow UFC, whatever it's called, MMA stuff. I'm not a big fight fan.
I just see it whenever it's on. I just saw that they got one coming up.
I'll trust
I
you.
would. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm sure you got golf this weekend. I'm trying to think anything big that people need to be aware of. If you're not, or if you're aware of something that we're not, throw it up there on the deals. We get closer and closer to both seasons. Really, anyone planning on going to Atlantis, to the Bahamas? I'm curious. If you are, hit me up. Just curious.
Fans?
Yeah,
Are they really?
But it's not cheap, brother. It's not cheap.
Oh, I'm
what
sure
is?
not.
No, you have to stay. You have to stay at the Atlantis place, which I'm trying to type this up as I speak.
It's all kind of one big thing, isn't it? It's all connected, so it's one big area, if I remember correctly.
Well, it's on that. What do you call it? Like an all-inclusive deal?
Yeah.
HAMAS.
But they're also, I think they're televising it, are they? It's not going to be on.
See that? No TV, and I don't think there's going to be radio. So it's becoming it's kind of going to be a very exclusive type thing. So that's, and it is not cheap. Like I've said, it's you have to buy the tickets. To get tickets, you have to be staying at this place. That's the only way you can get tickets. I'm trying to find that information. If someone else throws it up there real quick. NASCAR is racing in Atlanta this weekend. Oh, they're not going to put that up there, so you got to go hit this link. But as I'm trying to hit that link, of course, then you got book now. Oh, then they make you go through all this crap before you. They'll tell you the price. So, and I'm trying to do it, just to get a cost on it.
Well,
but
I don't know much about what all is. How many games are they playing? Is it 4 or 5?
Dose. No, just playing 2.
Okay.
They're just playing 2 games. But it would be fun.
Oh,
for
it would
sure.
be really fun. Yeah.
I was planning on going to Hawaii when they went. I can't tell if this for the days that I listed, 10th through the 14th, I think. That's roughly $1,200 1,200, yeah. 12 to 1,500. Here's one for 3,000.
Well, that's what on that Jennifer just said. She had a room reserved for 5 days for $3,000, and the food and drink was not included.
Oh, very nice.
So there you go.
Can I stay in your Jennifer? Can I stay in the closet? I'm looking at that right now. That's the Cove at Atlantis. Summer basketball in paradise. 20% savings off best available rates. Indiana University.
There you go.
Average is $602 per night.
So now does that also include flight?
I doubt it.
Whew.
Now, of course, this place I'm looking at, this is not the Holiday Inn Express here.
Well, right, exactly. It is a nice hotel.
Although it does kind of look like a Holiday Inn Express with an ocean out the window. The bathrooms are very nice.
I would take that, though. A little basketball, a little beach action.
Hey, it's 11 o'clock. I mean, it's top of the hour. We got to get out of here, don't we?
We do.
It's been another great one. Thanks a lot to Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you give him a follow at Al Lasley and at thehoosier.com for complete coverage of Indiana athletics. Make sure you go there and sign up. You can also catch the shows there as they carry them there in addition to YouTube. Please give me a follow on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB. Make sure you follow our friend at Schutte, CFB, Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition as well. Thank him, as always, for being our main co-host. He's about to become a semi-permanent co-host. We're closer and closer to Big Ten Media Days and basketball, but right now you get to go out and have a great weekend. I hope everyone has a safe one. Plans for your weekend, brother?
Just traveling up to Nashville and then Indiana.
We'll see you up here. John, the producer, I hope you have a great weekend as well, my friend.
You too, Jim.
And everybody else, thank you so much. Without you, we've got nothing to do. We appreciate you so much and cannot wait to talk to you on Monday. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.